welcome to the 20th World Hypnotism Day. I call it an extravaganza this year because, it sounded good for the 20th. I think we all deserve a pat on the back for being here all those years. Most of the people on at this event tonight have been here almost every year. In case you didn't know, I'm Patti Scott. I'm the president of UP Hypnosis Institute and Unlimited Possibilities Hypnosis Incorporated. And I've been in private practice for 32 years as of next month. It'll be 32 years, and studying hypnosis at least another 20 before that, in NLP and all these other wonderful things. So I guess I'm one of the oldsters now, but I still feel like a baby because there's so much more to learn always, which is why I think this keeps us young. All of these techniques and the fascination with how we function and all of the new technologies that are coming up about that just make it interesting all the time, doesn't it? I'm going to be talking now about medical hypnotherapy or medical hypnosis. And that has been my specialty since I started 32 years ago. Next month, it'll be 32 years officially, formally studying this stuff. And there's so many different aspects of hypnosis. And people ask me all the time, what's the difference between medical hypnosis or hypnotherapy and regular hypnosis? Well, first you have to ask yourself, what is hypnosis? And I was watching one of my first teacher's old videos that's on YouTube the other day, and Michael Preston. He wrote a book called Hypnosis, Medicine of the Mind, and he is the one that that first year in this field got me really excited about studying clinical and medical hypnotherapy. And he says hypnosis is a state of awareness. And the other part of the definition from him is it's a state of awareness that is dominated by the subconscious mind. Now, I was trained by people who used the term subconscious by hanging out with Michael Watson for the last 20 whatever years in Florida. My habit changed, and now I use the term unconscious mind. So whatever term you use for that which is outside of our conscious awareness, just transpose your word for that, because it's not about the words or any of that. It's about the concept. And the concept is that creative part of our mind, the unconscious or subconscious, or all those other terms they have for it, becomes dominant when we are in a state of hypnosis. Now, when you're doing clinical or medical hypnotherapy, of course, we're doing it on purpose for some particular specific outcome that our client is wanting to achieve that hasn't, up until the point that they came to see us, been able to happen by applying all of that wonderful conscious effort or willpower or any of those things. So we can get into that creative part of the mind that I call the name of this, what I give the name of this program every year, your unlimited mind. And my company, the UP Hypnosis, the UP stands for Unlimited Possibilities. That's the long name for my company. And that's because I do believe that the unconscious mind is our unlimited part of our mind. And what that means doesn't mean that it can do everything all the time. It means that it has a whole lot more that the conscious mind is limited from being able to do on its own. So the creative mind, again, is the part that in medical hypnotherapy we are dealing with. It's the part of the mind that also runs the body. So most people that know how to measure all this stuff, and most of the books out there from psychology and different fields, will say that we do not come into beta consciousness until about age 7 or 8. We're born in a state of deep hypnosis. We're born in theta. And then most of the books will say around 3 or 4 years old, we get into alpha, which is light hypnosis. So all of those years, we are at a point where we aren't deciphering and blocking certain things or analyzing or critiquing. We don't have anything to do that with yet. So by the time we're 7 or 8, we have already been, for lack of a better word, programmed, conditioned. We have been conditioned with certain beliefs and expectations and concepts and attitudes and all of these things. So that by the time we get into beta consciousness, we then start to be able to question and start to maybe do a little bit more delving on our own and maybe having some other opinions as we open our mind up. But a lot of things are already set in stone, so to speak. So the medical hypnotherapy, since as a baby, as we know, up until 7 or 8, the unconscious mind, we always say, is the seat of emotions, and it runs the body. It's in charge of the integrity of the body. So as a baby, as we know, if something happens to the body, that unconscious intelligence, if you will, that inner intelligence, automatically starts to send resources. The natural state is to start to attain balance and order back to the original design. And that's where in medical hypnotherapy, we can re-access that part of the person that has always been there from the very beginning. And through using hypnotic language, we can help that person to tap into that inner intelligence that still has what in some books they'll say, the original blueprint for perfect health. The original design is what I like to call it. That which came into the world with the person that already knew how to send the resources necessary to make any corrections that have from something that has gotten out of balance or out of order from the way it was meant to be in the original design. So that's what we do with medical hypnotherapy. And really the only difference is that we can address things more directly. And as most hypnotherapists are unlicensed, unless they happen to also be a licensed psychotherapist or psychiatrist or doctor or something else. And most of those people have very minimal training in hypnotherapy. So most people that a doctor would refer someone to is, someone trained in this field. And hypnotherapist that is unlicensed, of course, we work strictly under a referral from the treating physician, because hypnotists don't treat, we don't diagnose, and we don't prescribe. We are guides that help the person access within themselves the healing mechanisms that are already built into the systems. And that's the way I think of it. So medical hypnotherapy is the most natural thing in the world. When I was a little kid, there was a thing that used to happen. I don't know if this happened in any of your experience as a child, or maybe you saw it in a movie somewhere, where the little kid falls down and has a boo-boo. Scraped his knee, fell off the bike, whatever. And mom comes out and goes, I'll blow on it and make it feel better. And they blow on it, and, the child's eyes get big and watch, and they feel better. So that's a form of hypnosis, isn't it? You get someone's attention. Remember, it's a state of awareness. And you get their attention, and someone is saying something that they trust, hopefully. If not, it probably wouldn't work. But someone that has some credibility with that child. And what happens is the child gets focused and gets out of the ouch mode, out of the focusing on what hurt, and focuses on this little ritual that someone did. And that's just a silly little example from a child. But think about how doctors hypnotize people. They give people a certain amount of months to live sometimes. And they have to do that because of liability. I understand that. And sometimes there's been volumes written about people who were told they only had a certain amount of time to live and died on cue when they were supposed to, because that was their expectation and their belief. And then after they died, they found out they didn't have, that they were misdiagnosed. So that should tell us, when I hear those kind of stories through the years, tells us that there was a belief in, and we call that prestige hypnosis, prestige suggestions. When someone in perceived authority tells us something that we know must be true, so we take it on and we believe it. And the unconscious or subconscious part of our mind always acts on and treats what we accept and let in as a belief as true, right? We believe things that we believe because we think they're true. And sometimes if we have an open mind, we can gather more information. And sometimes those things that all the best authorities thought were true at the time end up not being so much so. And some of you that are in this field, I'm sure have a background, a lot of interesting backgrounds of what brought you here. And if you know me or have been in classes with me, you probably know at age 19, I had a back injury that was severe enough. The doctor started reading me a long list of things I was never going to be able to do. I was going to need all these surgeries. And, they had the x-rays. This was like in 70 something, early 70s, 1970 or 71. So they're telling me all these things, and something inside of me thankfully blocked it. And I don't know what that was. It wasn't denial. It wasn't wishful thinking or any of those kind of feelings. It was a different feeling than I'd ever had before when someone that I thought knew everything, because that's the way they treated doctors back then in my world. And I was very confused and fascinated by the fact that I knew he was wrong. And I didn't know how I knew that. And I left and never went back. That's what brought me to this field 20 years later. Because I was in show business for 20 years. I ended up doing my childhood dream, singing, dancing, acting, doing all the things the doctor said I'd never be able to do, and then some. And it was because I went a different direction. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't listen to doctors, please, because I work with doctors all the time. We have to respect what they're doing, and they're human. So I'm sure some of you have had experiences where somebody told you something would be impossible, and you went ahead and had a sense or a feeling inside that you just knew you'd be able to do it anyway, whatever it was. And you succeeded. And people would say, wow, I sure didn't think that you were capable of that, right? So if you've had experiences like that, that tells you that strong emotion and determination helps to achieve the outcome. And we know that there's a lot of people out there that are very prestigious that came from the world of medicine and psychology and psychotherapy and psychiatry that now are advocates of hypnotherapy. One of them that I love to access on the internet is Michael Yapko, Y-A-P-K-O. And if you're familiar with him, he's an amazing person that has written a lot of books. And he just loves hypnotherapy. And he comes right out and says, when you combine hypnotherapy with cognitive behavioral therapy or any other kind of psychology type processes, that it absolutely makes it way more effective and permanent. So he's a great advocate for what we do. The other one that I love and that I think is a great starting point if you're looking to study clinical and medical hypnotherapy is David Spiegel. And I love his story because he started out not believing in hypnosis. He thought it was not a good thing. And he went out to study the Simonton studies to prove that they were wrong when they said they got Pac-Man to eat the cancerous tumors back in the 1970s, if you're familiar with that story. And he literally went on a crusade to prove that they were wrong, that it was impossible, that their studies were wrong. And by the end of his studies, he became full-fledged advocate of hypnotherapy. I love people like that because he started out as, you know, having those doubts about it. So these are some people you can go on the internet, on YouTube, and look up different things. My specialty, I have a medical hypnotherapy specialty certification that I developed a few years ago, and it's for people who are already trained in hypnotherapy, and it's approved through the International Medical and Dental Hypnotherapy Association. I do it twice a year, and then I have hypnosis certification through IACT and IHF, which is Shelley Stockwell's group, and through my company, UP Hypnosis Institute. So I do a lot of other free webinars every month and all kinds of fun stuff. So uphypnosis.com, you can find all that. Just quickie there. And think about vibration. You know, our thoughts are vibration inside of our body. And when we speak, when we're talking about ourselves, about our life and our health and all those things, that's vibrating into every cell in the body as well. We want to be aware, what kind of vibrations are we surrounding ourselves with? What are we allowing ourselves to be in the atmosphere and in the environment of vibration-wise? You know, some things we can't avoid, theoretically. And so we can offset some of the things that we're unable to avoid, but there's an awful lot of things that we can intentionally put ourselves in the atmosphere, in the environment of, to stay balanced and to stay in tune, if you will, and attuned to, you know, to health, to that ideal health. Such a big topic. And I have on YouTube, if you look up Patricia Scott Medical Hypnotherapy, I've got all kinds of videos out there now. And there's a lot of good stuff out there.